Okay, we are now recording. Well, I'm so glad to have y'all on the Search for Memphis and Dakota podcast with me. How are you guys doing?
We're
We're
doing
doing good.
good.
That is awesome, y'all. Making it through the pandemic and the freeze and the whatever else we got going on in this great wonderful world.
Time we got going on in Houston, right?
You know,
Yeah, we're doing good.
that is awesome. Well, I don't want to take up too much of y'all time, and we're gonna go ahead and get right into it. So as you know, the Search for Memphis and Dakota podcast is basically me journaling and talking about my journey with fibroids and my issues with infertility. So I wanted to have you guys on because you faced something similar, just to tell a little bit of you guys' story and how it affected your life and your marriage and things like that. That okay with you guys?
Yeah.
Sure. Dominique, this is the first time like we've ever like talked about it because it was just like a part of, you just take it as it's just a part of what happens, right? It's just
Right.
what it is. And so like we've never shared with anybody our story. Like maybe every now and then if somebody talks about fibroids, we might mention it. But it was like, you want to hear about our story?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that
So,
a lot of young women, it's a big thing, but no one really talks about it. And I think a lot of women can grow and we can learn from each other if we just start sharing our experiences and our stories with each other.
yeah, you're right.
When did
You
you
know,
first find out?
when I found out I had fibroids, like I mean, it was like, what are those and why do I need to be bothered with that? Because like, before I got married, they mentioned, but they were very small, so it wasn't a worry.
Mm,
So when they were like, "Are you trying to have a baby?" I'm like, "Nope, not even married." So they just went just they were there, and that was it, right?
mm-hmm.
And then I guess as time went on, they grew, and I just thought I was gaining weight because I wasn't going to a gynecologist like yearly. So I just thought I was gaining weight. And so then after we got married and stuff, and I was thinking, wonder why I'm not pregnant yet. So then you start going to the doctor and all that kind of stuff. And he was like, "Do you know you have fibroids?" And I was like, "Yeah, they mentioned that a while ago, but what's the point?" He was like, "Well, you're not gonna be able to have kids with these like this." And I was like, "What?" So then he suggested medication.
Oh,
And I think I did steroids for a while to reduce them. But of course, with steroids come other issues.
correct.
And so then I was like, okay, well, forget about it. And we didn't even worry about it. And then, I don't know, I guess just back and forth I got pregnant within our like 4th year marriage.
How old were you at the
And
when you first found
say it
out?
again, I can't hear you.
How old were you when you first found out about the fibroid?
About fibroids. Yeah, get closer in the mic so I can hear you be a little louder. I guess when I was 18, I found out I had small fibroids.
Okay.
And so I got married at 24. So like when I was about 25, I started like investigating, but yeah, you know,
Okay. So
25.
so they weren't bad for you. Even so
No,
wow.
they were hindering me from reproducing because they were on top of my uterus.
Mm,
And so when I stopped taking the steroids, they grew. So it was pressing my uterus down, preventing anything from
right.
coming in or going out.
Wow, that's I haven't heard that. Most people who females when they talk about they have all the pain and the heavy bleeding and the cramping. You
So after a while of that, I had heavy periods, but I didn't attribute it to fibroids, right? I just thought that's just how my periods were. But as I talked to the gynecologist, he was like, "No, that's not normal." But in my mind, I thought it was normal, right? And to
right.
have horrible cramps and the whole nine, I just thought that was just how periods work. But no, ma'am, that's not how it's supposed to work.
Right. You get that later on. So, Delwin, I'm pastor. I'm so used to calling you
You're
Delwin.
fine. You're fine.
Um,
We grew
You're
up
fine.
together.
no,
Fine.
guys, we grew up in church since we was
Went to pre-K and
baby.
kindergarten together.
Walked to Bruce Elementary around the corner in Fifth Ward. So, hey,
House.
right? So,
I'm
Delwin,
sorry. Back to
you,
business.
you see your wife, and you're now going through this issue with conceiving. How did it affect you?
Um, I felt, I guess, out of control, that I couldn't help or I couldn't do more, and so I tried to be as sensitive to the situation as I could, and so in that this kind of situation, all you can do as a man is to be supportive, you know.
Yeah,
So,
that's kind of where Aaron was with it, because he seen me go through some changes, baby. Whew,
yeah,
they are
yeah.
something serious. Um, so you said around about the fourth year of you guys' marriage, that's when you.
I got pregnant. So because I wasn't getting pregnant, I started going to see the gynecologist, and he was like, "Okay, well, we're taking," and I started back taking a medication to shrink my fibroids, right?
Mhm.
And so he was like, "Well, since that's not working, it's been about a year. We tried that," and he said, "Well, we'll just schedule a not a hysterectomy, but a laparoscopic surgery in order to get in. Let's move like maybe that." I had like a grapefruit size, and I
Oh,
had like a golf ball and maybe like a lemon size. So it
mhm.
looked as if I was 3 months pregnant. So he was like, let's crush one or two down and see if we can get in there, and then to relieve some pressure off of your uterus, and so you can get pregnant. So then when I went in to get my blood work done and all that, he called me and Delwin in, and he was like, well, you guys need to come into my office. And I was thinking, well, what's going on? But anyway, lo and behold, I was already pregnant. So somehow a little swimmer got in between like the fibroid and the uterus that was crushed. And I found out I was pregnant with Dylan. But it was a really, really rough pregnancy with fibroid.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
So
So
weird.
did they, while you were unpregnant, did they grow any? Did they kind of stop growing or?
So as my blood supply grew for the baby, my fibroids started growing. So it looked as if I was pregnant with like triplets,
Oh, Jesus.
because they would grow and grow. And he was due in February, at the end of February, but he came December the 24th, really early. And I had to go to bed rest at home.
Mhm.
And because they were just worried about him not making it, basically because they didn't think he could survive with the amount of fluid that was inside and the fibroids continuing to grow, they put me in the hospital. So I was there about 2 or 3 months inside the
3 months.
hospital,
Really?
just to monitor his heartbeat to make sure he was
Wow.
alive. Yeah, because they didn't think that. So every day it was like, okay, if we hear, they would like prepare you. Like if you can hear the heartbeat, we're good. But if not, then we know we have to go the other way.
That's scary. Oh my God.
Very much
So how was it with Delaney? Because I you guys have two kids. How was it your
so.
pregnancy with her?
So after I had the first one, my doctor was like, surely you want to take those out. And I was like, no, they reduced and they're fine. So like after I had him and I breastfed, I don't know, something happened, they reduced. I don't know, whatever happened to my body. But I got pregnant with her again because he wanted me to have surgery. And I was like, not yet. So I got pregnant with her, and hers, I think my body was like, okay, I know what's happening here. It wasn't as bad, but I had to go on bed rest where I stayed at home. And I had to take weekly shots in order for my body not to go into premature labor because I was so big. My body was like, okay, you must be like ready to give birth because you're so big.
So
But it was my
weekly
fibroids
shot.
growing.
You administered it yourself? You administered those
No,
yourself?
I had to go into
Oh,
the office every week. I would just have a standing appointment, and I would show up and they would go let me in, shoot me, and they would have to check the heartbeat
mhm.
because it could be fibroid or it could be baby growing. and I would go. So
Okay. Wow, that's crazy. I
yeah.
knew nothing of this. Mama she was just like, talk to Sherry, y'all, you could talk that she might be able to help you. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
I know.
I knew none of this was going on, but see,
Yeah.
we don't talk and we don't share, so we don't learn from each other. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Pastor, um, I wanted you on specifically because while I was going through and am going through my whole situation, I became very angry and upset, and my faith and my relationship with God has changed dramatically. Y'all know we grew up in church. We know God. This is what we do.
Yeah.
Did any of that affect you guys? Your pastor, your pastor's wife, y'all go through things, how was your faith in your relationship? Did it change any? Or was it ever,
I
ever
would,
strong?
I think that it was strengthened as a result of us. I mean, the more you go through, the deeper you ought to dive into God. And if you're angry, then you feel free to let Him know that as well. And so I think that our personal faiths grew as a result of that. If that makes sense, that we kept praying, kept knocking, and even if, like the three Hebrew boys said, even if He doesn't deliver, we still trust that He's still a good God. And so that was a part of that journey. And so, instead of pushing away from God, you ought to lean into Him and be honest with Him about how you're feeling, that you're angry, that you know, that's, you know.
See, everyone kept telling me and was like, you can't be angry with him. And I was
Yeah,
like,
no,
but
you can't.
why can't I?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, and a couple of episodes before this one, that's why I want you guys on at this time, because it kind of flowed in to the past episodes. One of the ladies of the church, she told me back then, she was like, you blessed if you do, you're blessed if you don't. I didn't get that right then,
Yeah.
but later on I got it. But I was just like, but the don't part is not the blessing I want. I want the do part of the blessing. And my, Quinn was like, Dominic, you can't be angry. You got to let it go. And I'm in church. I'm reading my Bible. I'm in Bible study. I'm doing the things, trusting that He's going to do this for me.
Yeah.
And in the process, as years went on, I just like, you know what? I just started fading away.
Yeah.
So now I'm at this point in my life. It's like, okay, well, I need to get back.
Yeah.
How do I get back? Because I feel so disconnected. Like I've gone to, since the pandemic or whatever, I've been to church in the parking lot, enjoyed myself. But sometimes I just feel so disconnected,
Yeah.
So how someone who may be similar to me, how do you suggest we begin the process of getting back?
Okay. So I'm gonna use this analogy. During this COVID period, they said that one of the things that, you may die if you're out of shape. And so I knew I was out of shape. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I did, I went back to the gym. I couldn't run a mile. I got started. And so that's what it is. It starts with the first step. It's nothing greater. Just, God, here I am. You do the rest, Okay. And so I'm sure you remember your grandmother saying, if you take one step, God will take two. Now that ain't the whole truth. If you make one step, God will make the rest. And so it's just a matter of just getting back in there. I don't know if that answers your question. Yeah. And be honest with God. Let me tell you this. You are not the first one to be aggravated, angered with God. When Jesus was on the cross, He said, my God, why have you forsaken me? Now, if Jesus feels like that on the cross and He died for our sins, then who am I? So, when people say don't be angry, no, Jesus was on the cross saying, why you turn your back on your boy? And so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Babe, you got
So,
any questions? You got it? Want to interject anything? He behind the scenes.
Oh no, I
yeah.
don't have any questions. They pretty much answered all the questions. The only
Okay.
question I even would have had would have been, you know, how was their faith affected? He pretty much answered that. I was
Yeah.
just curious to see. You know, I know he's the pastor, and we have great respect for him. I also know that just because you're a pastor, you're still human like everyone else,
Yeah.
and you have feelings. So I'm at a point where I think because of it, I kind of lost my faith, and I kind of haven't been back. There's some other factors with that, but that was one of the main things, and it was refreshing just to hear your answer that you had for that.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that the way that we were raised, and I hate to say it was wrong, but it was to say don't question God. No, that's why He's God. He can, if He can't handle a question, well, I don't want to serve a God that I don't have a question for. If that makes sense, I can't serve a God that I can't quit. Y'all are married, and now if you move my food and I can't question you, what kind of relationship do we
Where's
have?
my stuff? Yeah.
Don't I mark there, do not eat my Papa Dolls. Or it may be good. But now if I can't say like who ate my food, then what kind of relationship is that? If that makes sense, So not only it's a whole lot of religious people that say that really don't have a deep relationship with God. They have a surface relationship, So if that makes sense.
It does. Oh my gosh. Oh,
Yeah.
I think that's man. I think that about covers it. Y'all y'all hit it.
Girl.
Okay.
So I don't, I'm glad y'all.
What else you want to know?
I hope that was helpful.
Yeah.
No, really, especially about my faith, because the girl is struggling with it around. I think we've been married 13 years, almost 13 years now, and I think around year 5 of me going in and out the hospital, me dealing with this, I think that's really when my relationship with God started to go downhill. And just to hear you say that that I can have these feelings.
You can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's okay. You're his child. Like, I mean, he loves you. And it's okay for you to question and ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've been through a lot. So
That doesn't diminish your faith or anything like that.
Yeah.
People who have close relationships, now y'all like us, people look at y'all and say, y'all been married a long time. Mm-hmm. And they can't, because we in a culture now where they get a divorce because you made the bed wrong. But y'all have hung, so I know y'all have seen the worst of each other in each other. But that doesn't make you want to run. Some days I want to leave it alone, but that's the testing of a true relationship when the times get hard.
Yeah, and it also builds your relationship too with your husband, right? Because he was the one that would get it the most. Like when I was the angriest, like you don't tell your mom this kind of stuff. Like he was the one that was getting it. Like when I was frustrated with God, when I was frustrated with doctors and poking the needles, I'm like, you know what, this is enough, and he is the one that got it. And even like creating a baby, it was like, I don't want to do this. This is not fun no more. Leave me alone, because of all the other internal things that were happening. But I wasn't talking to him about, this is not fun for me because this does not feel like it should or whatever. But he was the one that was getting the brunt of everything. And so like it comes to a point where it was like, I remember one time calling my mom in the hospital while I was pregnant. I was like, you know what, I can't do this no more. She was like, so what you gonna do? And I was like, well, she's like, you either gonna have the baby, you gonna pray and talk to God. What you telling me for? I can't fix it. So you need to pray and you need to talk to somebody that can fix it. And so knowing my mama, she hung up the phone and went on about her business and expected me to Right. So that's what I did, because you get depressed and you start to feel like your self-worth. You don't feel like a woman anymore. Like you can't
That's it right there.
produce or do what you want, and you feel like, I don't know, less than. I know you understand it, but he couldn't understand. He kept telling me, you pretty, you this. Okay, but like in my mind,
I can't
I needed
this
to do
one thing.
XYZ.
Like
This
that
way.
was my thing.
Yeah.
I was not enough. Can't do this one thing. And
Thing.
where you say he got the most, I think I just kept it all in, not just from him, but from everybody. So
Everybody. Yeah,
it
you gotta
just,
let that out.
ooh, baby. Mm, mm.
And it eats at you as a woman. You know, those preconceived notions that we have of what we are as women. So if you are a woman, you do this, right? You have to do this. And that's what we saw, or maybe taught, maybe not. I mean, that's just what we saw done, right? You have babies for your husband and you get married the whole nine. Yeah, but sometimes it doesn't happen that way. So how do we make our life, how do we feel fulfilled as a woman when those things can't happen? Because like so many Black women, we don't talk about this, you know.
Exactly.
Especially young, we still young.
We don't know.
About
And
fibroids
and that's something I want to change. That's pretty much where this podcast came from. Me telling my story and me saying, hey, let me reach out to other young women, because usually this starts when, like, you found out about yours at 18.
Yeah, they were just like, oh, it's a small something, but then you was like, okay, well, I'm young, I don't know about care about that. Yeah.
And a lot of these young women, they don't know, and I don't want them to have to go through these things that we're going. I can say something and pass it along where you don't have to go through this thing. Let me put it out there. You know, I want to share that. So, man, this is great.
That's
Man.
That was great. Yes, you did so well.
Thank you.
Yeah. What else?
I guess
that's it. Just yeah. I mean, just be honest with God. Let Him know how you're feeling. You know, yeah, you just feel like it today. And then let me say this as well. A lot of people, well-meaning religious people, have, because they'll say, "Oh, just trust God." Well, hell, you got a house full of children.
exactly.
Don't tell me just no trust God. Don't tell me, and you ain't doing nothing for them. And so they well-intentioned, but they get these trite responses and answers that are not really going to help. So you gotta pray, be honest with God, you know. And then you get to that point where you look around and you say, nah, they not doing nothing for them children. And I'm praying, what is and so you have to be honest with God in that situation. And then all is not lost. Abraham and Sarah didn't have a child until for 25 years, and they were 190 when they had their child. And so it ain't over until God says it's over. And so
how you chase a toddler around at 100?
That's the miracle. You know what you just got? You gave me a preaching point. That's a real good. That's a real good.
Yeah, he gonna use that
illustration. Yeah. They trusted God. You know.
Yeah. All right.
Look at Hannah. In the scripture, she prayed for the child. So you keep praying, keep trusting God. And the question when we're tested is not, God, what are you doing? Why are you doing this to me? The question ought to be, God, what are you teaching? And so you make sure that no experience is wasted, because everything that God does, and we know that He works everything for His good. And so while I'm in the waiting period, God, teach me. Let me keep my journal and my notebook close by, because you're teaching me something through this. And so I think that this podcast is a part of that. You helping somebody else go along. So none of these experiences are wasted, if that makes sense.
It does, man.
Yeah.
I thank you guys. I really do. I thank you guys
I
for
don't know.
coming on and sharing your story with us, a little bit of it, and hopefully I plan on doing like a little round table talk, maybe share with a couple of ladies.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll
call me back.
Hopefully we'll be able to gather,
You might be able to gather,
together with the peoples.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
That'll be exciting.
All right. Well, thank you guys. And
thank you. Now what?
Now we're gonna try to watch this Coming to America.
Oh yeah, I watched it last night.
Don't tell us. Don't tell us.
Trust me, I'm not. Y'all do that thing.
Yeah, we're gonna watch that with some pizza and some PJs, girl. That's what we do on Friday night.
Right there. That's a good night.
That's a good night, right?
That's a good night. PJs in a movie. I ain't mad at it.
A movie, yes. That's what we're gonna do.
So,
all right, lady.
And y'all enjoy.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys.
No problem.
Good night, y'all, and thank you.
All right, good night. Y'all have a good one.
Bye.
All right, good night.
Good night.